Hey, Ty, do you hear me? Good morning. Good evening, Ty. Are you there? Okay.
I can hear you, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Sorry to bother you, but it's
Not at all.
the only way I could figure it out is to try it on someone. By the way, how was Thanksgiving?
Mine was great.
Good.
Yeah, I had my dad came into town from
Oh,
Ohio, and we just kind of putzed around. He really likes coming to town when everybody leaves. So, how was
okay.
yours?
Oh, it was very nice. Went out to a cousin out in Jersey. It was nice to get together after 2 years. So I'm not sure when we'll do it again at the rate things are going, but it was nice. So, all right, I'm going to turn my mic off and go, and I guess we relax until we get more people and we start.
Suzanne, I think you're muted if you're trying to speak.
I got it. Can you hear me now?
Sure can.
Okay. I'm on my phone. I've never done this on my phone before.
What happened to your computers?
I'm in St. John.
Excuse me. Okay. Well,
So
I hope you're enjoying yourself. And
I
now
am.
I know what happened to your computer. You left it home
I
intentionally.
did. I
And
did. I'll be home on Sunday.
a smart lady, she left it at home.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm not. So you have to bear with me. I don't know if I'll be able how to unmute now that I've unmuted. I'm not sure I know how to mute and how I'm going to vote, but I'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out, I'm sure.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. It's 6:30. We'll give it about, I don't know, 5 more minutes to allow a few more people to log in. But thanks for joining tonight.
Hi, everybody.
Glenn? We're almost at quorum. I'm going to give it another minute or so to give folks another chance to join, but I don't want to hold this up for too much longer. Okay, I think we will be up to quorum by the time we have anything to vote on. So good evening. Welcome to the December meeting of Brooklyn Community Board 6. My name is Eric McClure. I am the first vice chair and will be presiding over the meeting this evening because our chair, Peter Fleming, is a little bit under the weather today and couldn't join us. So you guys get the B team instead. But thanks for being here. We have a pretty light agenda this evening and hope to get through it pretty quickly. I see a couple of our electeds have joined. I did not prepare chair's remarks since I didn't expect to be chairing tonight, but I did want to acknowledge that I'm very happy to see that our district manager, Mike Rascioppo, is back in action. Mike had an unfortunate breakthrough COVID infection, which fortunately did not manifest itself as more than sort of bad cold symptoms. I'm sure he'll be happy to tell you more about it himself, but it does Mike's breakthrough infection, I think, is a good reminder. And Mike has been for the last 20 months telling us about the importance of practicing good protocols and getting vaccinated. And I think that the development of the Omicron variant and its low susceptibility to the vaccine, the 2-dose vaccine, is a great reminder to everyone that if you can and have the opportunity, please get a booster dose. Mine is scheduled for 2 days from now. And the news from Pfizer, at least, was that the booster really does help with the Omicron variant. And so it's something that we as a board, I think, recommend that everybody do if at all possible. So that's it for me. As far as my remarks, I will hand it over to Mike for district manager's report.
And it's Eric. Remember minutes, or do we want to?
Mike, I am not hearing you well. I don't know if that's just me.
Do you want to do the minutes?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. We do have minutes from last month that were sent around as part of the agenda. I would like to get a vote on that if anyone would like to.
All moved.
Thank you, Jerry. Do we have a second? Second. Thanks, Alec. I think there won't be a lot of opposition to passing the minutes. So if anybody is opposed to the minutes or would like to abstain from approving the minutes, please use the raise hand function. And otherwise, I think the minutes from last month are approved. All right, Mike, then I will turn it over to you for the district manager's report.
Hang on, I'm just. Can people hear me better now? I took my headphones out. They've been acting weird. Okay, cool. I'll be brief. Thank you, Eric, for your sympathetic chair's remarks, I guess. I am feeling better, but yeah, I would say the same thing, that I will take this opportunity to remind people to get vaccinated, get boosted, because, I'm still pretty tired, which is the only way that that made me stop my, I didn't miss a day for 3 years on the daily newsletter or the weekday newsletter, and some weekends, like when Altered Side is canceled or something like that. But I guess that is, I know some of you heard from me already today. We have some stuff coming up that I'm sure some of the electeds will hit on, which is also in my newsletter. If you are watching this and you're wondering, well, what newsletter did people hear from? You can sign up for that by texting BKCB6 to 22828, or even email me directly about that or any other questions, mike@bkcb6.org. And thank you to everyone that has reached out. I've gotten back to most people. I appreciate it, and happy to, as Eric said, be back. And that's basically it for today for me.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to have you and your newsletter back for CB6. I see that
Welcome back.
we are joined by a couple elected officials in person. I see Senator Myrie with us, and Senator, if you would like to say a few words, please feel free, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Eric. Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I was going to congratulate the entire executive board on their re-election last month. And Eric, it only took you a month to go from first vice chair to chair. And so congratulations on that quick ascension. But we do, of course, wish Peter good health. And Mike, same to you. As many of you know, I had COVID pretty bad earlier this year. I was down for a couple of months. And so the struggle is indeed very real. Please get vaccinated. I have yet to schedule my booster. I do plan on getting one. And so I will be doing that in the coming days. I don't want to lengthen the agenda. I know you relish the opportunity to go through these meetings quickly. So I just really wanted to bring greetings. Wanted to thank everyone for the work that you're doing for the community. Our office met with a number of my colleagues that are on this call with the Department of Transportation at the end of September as it relates to safety at Grand Army Plaza. We have heard from many of you on this issue, and we plan to continue pressure on the DOT. I'm hopeful this new administration appears, at least publicly, to be more open to these types of initiatives, and our office will be working in tandem with the rest of our colleagues for this neighborhood to get on them on that. Many of you may have seen our elections report that was released a couple of weeks ago. You guys are used to seeing Matt here speaking on the office's behalf. Matt did an incredible and remarkable job with that report. He was the one holding the pen on a lot of it. And so I really want to publicly shout him out for that. If you are wondering what gifts you can give for the holidays, you can print up the elections report and gift that to your favorite friend or family member. It's an extensive report. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but really on the structure of the Board of Elections, what we can do to strengthen transparency and accountability, and some recommendations for us legislatively. Our goal is to pass many of those in the upcoming session, and so we'd love to have any support. And I'm also happy to answer any questions in that regard. There's one major program that I think my colleague in the Assembly will also speak about, the Homeowners Assistance Fund. This is an incredibly important program for our homeowners who have been struggling during this pandemic. In our state budget, we allocated money that we would receive from the federal government. It was pending approval from the Department of Treasury. Treasury has approved it. That program will open up January 3rd. It will be open for 30 days, and then it will close. It will be on a first come, first served basis. There are a lot of eligibility requirements, documents that you have to get ready. There is a website already up for this. The governor announced earlier this week, nyhomeownersfund.org. This, I cannot stress enough how important it is. If you have been struggling as a homeowner, this is an opportunity for you to get up to $50,000 in assistance from the state and the federal government. We're going to be pushing out a lot of information on this, but I wanted to talk about it briefly today so you can start getting ready. Go to the website, check it out, and reach out to our office. A lot of good stuff coming up for next session. As you know, we go back to Albany in January. We're going to be talking 421A. For those of you who are not familiar, that is a tax break given to developers that ostensibly is supposed to produce affordable housing. Brooklyn has the most 421A projects. Prospect Heights and Park Slope are included in what's called the geographic excluded area, where in exchange for that tax break, we're supposed to get affordable housing. but that doesn't always play out that way. So we're going to be having a serious discussion about whether that is the best place for us to be investing. We have a number of public safety bills that we're working on. We want to increase the ability and resources for victims of crimes to get that. That plays out for victims in the LGBTQIA community, people in domestic violence situations, and of course, people who are victims of gun violence. The restrictions for you to get compensated and get help from the government are way, way too onerous. And so we're going to be introducing a bill, actually just introduced today, to help spread those resources. Many of you know that we have sponsored a clean slate bill that works on the automatic sealing of conviction records after an individual has served their time. I view this as an economic bill. People are trying to get back on their feet. People are trying to stay out of trouble, but are often held back by their conviction records. So we're going to be pushing that. And we're also going after predatory marketing of junk food. This is an issue that affects our communities in a disproportionate way. And so we're looking to regulate that marketing space of marketing junk food to our children. And lastly, our office is always here. If you need anything, we have appointments. You can come in, but you have to call us in advance for us to do so. We're here. Anything that you need, please do not hesitate to reach out. But again, just want to stress Homeowners Assistance Fund, that opens up January 3rd. Get your documents together. Give us a call if you have any questions.
Senator, thank you. I see we have some questions, but before I turn to questions from my colleagues, I just want to say, in a nation where voting rights are seemingly under constant assault, your work as chair of the Senate Elections Committee to make it easier for people to vote in New York State is greatly appreciated, I think, by all of my colleagues. So thank you for that. Joanna, you had your hand up first.
Hi, Zelner. Just want to thank you for all your amazing work on gun safety, and bring to your attention that in certain circles in my acquaintance in New York, people are really freaked out about upcoming legal challenges to our things preventing concealed carry. And I wanted to get your sense of how dire you think that situation is. People are talking about, what if people have guns on the subway? What can we do at the state level to, further strengthen our already awesome gun safety laws?
Excellent question, Joanna. I don't want to break news just yet, but we have an op-ed coming out literally tomorrow in Newsweek about the Supreme Court case, about why they should not rule to overturn New York's concealed carry laws, why that should be the job of the states and the legislature. So you're going to get all of my thoughts in that op-ed tomorrow. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. But to your second question, it is incredibly dire. I am worried about what the court is going to come down with. If the questioning is any indication during the argument, it looks like they are going to weaken our laws, and it would really be up to the legislature to respond with legislation that comports with the ruling. I can tell you now that we've already begun those discussions. We are talking with a lot of the experts. I'm talking with my colleagues. We'll be sponsoring a legislative briefing on this. And so we are ready, and we will be ready as soon as that ruling comes down to respond legislatively.
Alec?
Thank you. And thank you, Senator. I was just going to mention a bill. I don't know if it's on your radar. It's called the Accessory Homes Enabling Act. It's called S4547. It's actually sponsored. The companion is sponsored in the Assembly by Assemblymember Carroll and Joanne Simon, and so has some support in your neck of the woods, and in the Senate by Biaggi and Ramos and Harcum and a number of your colleagues. It's a really important bill because it would allow for the legalization of a lot of basement apartments that were very dangerous and continue to be dangerous, and where tenants don't have the legal rights they would be afforded if it were legal. It also would help homeowners who are on a fixed income get a little extra income by renting out maybe a basement or part of their home to a tenant. It's currently illegal all over the state, especially in exclusionary suburbs that probably could use a little push from the state to help them create a little housing. And our neighbors in Connecticut just passed a bill doing the exact same thing. And California has, Washington, it's a tried and true model. It's about time New York got on the same page. It's before the Judiciary Committee, which I know you serve on. So I hope it could get your support.
No, I appreciate that. And correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe Assemblymember Simon, is this the Harcum bill in the Senate? Is he the prime sponsor?
Yes, Senator. Yes, it's the
Okay.
Harcum bill. He's the lead.
Yes.
And it's
So,
Epstein in the Assembly.
yes. So I'm supportive of this. I thought that I was on it, but if not, we'll correct that on the staff side. But this is a concept I'm supportive of. I'm particularly sensitive to the history of exclusion in many areas of our state, particularly in the suburbs. And so this is something that I support, a policy that I support, and we'll be looking to get on the bill.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator.
Got it.
And let's see. Somebody else had a hand up earlier, but I see it's come down. So Senator, thank you very much. Appreciate your joining us this evening. And I will turn to Assemblymember Simon. Thank you for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Senator Myrie for mentioning half of the things I was going to mention. That's good. It reduces the amount of meeting time for everybody. But he's right about the priorities, and certainly this Homeowners Assistance Fund is critically important. Mike, I'm so glad to see you're feeling better, and I wish everybody happy holidays as well. One of the things I've been doing lately is I've been going to a lot of hearings. I assume Senator Myrie has as well. We're all gearing up for session. Obviously, there are some big issues, the elections issues, just generally the Board of Elections issues, and how we can address legislatively, because as you can learn that constitutional amendments don't always go through when it goes back to the voters. So that was a real challenge for us this year. And clearly the messaging around no excuse absentee voting, for example, which should be a no-brainer, complete and utter no-brainer, didn't get passed by the voters. And so we're looking at ways to address that going forward legislatively. I also, wanted to just mention that the other big issue that I think we're going to be dealing with is, the housing moratorium, the open meetings law. We're on Zoom. We have Omicron now as another virus. There are parts of the state where the issues around the moratorium are very different than they are in the city. And in, for example, Westchester and closer in suburbs. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out, because there's a real variability of opinion and experience in the assembly around the state. But that's a really important issue too, this issue about the moratorium, because we don't want anybody to be evicted. We know that there are those evictions that are happening by those private equity firms, for example, that are violating the moratorium. But just generally, we want to make sure that people are safe and are healthy. And it's real hard to be safe and healthy if you've been kicked out of your home. So I'm not sure where that's going to come down, but I think that's going to be a very big issue. And it will be one that'll be on deck relatively quickly, because as you know, the moratorium runs out on January 15th. Like Senator Myrie, I'm very concerned about the gun violence oral arguments where I was not happy with. I am working on some solutions. Timing is going to be an aspect of this because let's just say that there's strategy involved. So we'll see. The other thing, of course, has been, just very grateful that we elected Senator Myrie and other Democrats in 2018, which allowed us to pass right away the Reproductive Health Act in New York. And that's critical because, the Supreme Court is likely, it seems, I listened to that oral argument, And there are a lot of specious arguments that were made and give me a great deal of concern. But in New York, we know that women will be able to have the reproductive health care that they need. Because if you look at the way the argument was going, it's much broader than abortion in terms of the restriction of individual rights and liberties. That is a road I think we're headed down. So I don't want to get too geeky about it, but that is an issue. I am working on the weight and motion bill, which we haven't got as much time to get that signed. So I'm pushing the governor's office on that. That, of course, makes a difference when it comes to truck traffic, particularly along the BQE. And trying to think if there's anything in particular. My office is certainly working on with a number of groups to make sure that people have coats this year. We have a toy drive. If you can, we're working with Gowanus Mutual Aid. You can drop toys off at my office. You can also drop off warm clothing for all ages. Coats, gloves, mittens, socks. Very important. Anything that you can give would be very helpful. And I will leave it at that. Unless you have particular questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Assemblymember Simon. Karen, I know you had your hand up earlier, and if you have a question and want to ask it now, please feel free. And if not, oh, there you are.
I sent the I just want to know, in his report, did it include poll workers, and from what is any legislation coming out from that?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I was just typing out a very long response to you in the message, so it's easier to communicate this way. We not only included and listened to poll workers, we actually did our hearings in a different way than we usually do. Usually we have all of the government people, the government institutions speak up front, and then we have the public and other, so-called lay people speak later. We actually flipped that and required that it be voters and poll workers and everyday people that testify and submit testimony first. We did 5 hearings across the state. So we did New York City. We did it in Brooklyn, of course, because Brooklyn's always in the house. But then we went up to Rochester and Syracuse and Westchester and Albany. And we got and received a lot of testimony from poll workers. And to your second question on legislation, we're working on that now. And so we made recommendations in the report. We didn't define what bills it should be. We tried to keep it broad so that we could continue to receive feedback and to draft legislation with the public and not just us alone. And so if you have ideas or you have things that you think we should be considering as a committee, we would love to get your feedback.
Okay.
Thank you. And we have been joined by Assemblymember Robert Carroll. And Assemblymember, welcome. The floor is all yours.
Oh, good evening, and thank you so much, Eric and Community Board 6. It's wonderful to be here this evening. I will be brief because I know you have a long agenda. First, I want to kind of reiterate a few things that Joanne Simon was saying before on the community front. We also were doing a toy drive. It is the season. If you do have the ability, would like to drop off a toy or a piece of clothing for somebody in need, you can always stop by my office on 7th Avenue between 13th and 14th Street. We also hopefully will be having a COVID booster shot van coming to my office soon. We haven't yet scheduled it, but we are working diligently to make sure that folks who are in need of that third shot can get it. And I will disseminate that information to all of you. I came in the middle of Senator Myrie and Simon's report, so I don't know what they've given you, but I'll give you one update that I think is very positive for the state of New York, is that the coffers of the state of New York are full. It looks like going into this budget season, we may be looking at about a $7 billion surplus. Now, there's tons of need throughout the state, but that is an entirely different scenario than the last 2 budgets, where we were facing deficits and we're going to have to make hard choices. And so this is something that is going to allow New York is really bouncing back and recovering from COVID. And hopefully that recovery will continue even with the emergence of the Omicron variant. So that is something that is so important when we're talking about funding our schools, funding Medicaid, making sure that the MTA, which unfortunately is in dire need yet again of resources because of COVID-19, that those essential services throughout our city and state are funded. Two things that are near and dear to my heart. Governor Hochul will have upon her desk two bills that I introduced and passed earlier this year very shortly, and I hope that she will sign them. One is the Lobe Embodied carbon concrete bill, which would make the state of New York, when it procures concrete, to factor in the global warming potential of concrete. And if you don't know, concrete is the second most used substance in the world. It accounts for 8% of all global emissions. So that's more than every single car in North America times two. That's more than every single airline flight on planet Earth. If we don't figure out how to decarbonize our built environment, we're not going to meet the goals of the CLCPA. And so I'm really hoping she's going to sign that. I also hope that she's going to sign a bill that would make New York be able to start canvassing its absentee ballots at the start of early voting so that we could process those ballots. We wouldn't count them at that point, but then we would be able to count them starting 1 hour before polls close on election day. And so we would no longer become the last in the nation to certify our election results. And as if you remember, we had a bunch of assembly members, state senators, Congress members who looked like they were losing by thousands and thousands of votes. Of course, once we counted all the votes, I think, if not all, almost all of them ended up winning their elections. And so this is yet again one of the other reforms. I know Senator Myrie was talking about his important report about fundamentally kind of reforming the Board of Elections, which has been a absolute, real impossible agency to reform for years and years and years. Part of that is structural and legislative. Part of that is some of the culture and the folks who are running it. And I really look forward to working with Senator Myrie and Assemblywoman Simon, as well as others, and trying to figure out ways, both legislatively, maybe constitutionally, and maybe, who our soon-to-be mayor and our current governor is appointing to these very important roles, so that when folks do go out to vote early or vote by mail or vote on election day, that they're able to do it quickly and efficiently. And we don't have the snafus that we seem to hit every year. So that's a little bit for me. If there's any pressing questions, more than happy to answer them. But again, thank you all so much for having me, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful, happy, and healthy holiday season.
Thank you, Assemblymember Carroll. Appreciate those sentiments. Before we turn to committee reports, I just want to again thank Senator Myrie and Assemblymembers Simon and Carroll for joining us, and also give a shout out to your staff, Matt and Donna, Nicole, who's here for Brad, and many others who do kind of a often thankless job. It's all the work of a state legislator with a few of the accolades, and we appreciate you joining us on a regular basis and for the work that you do. So thanks to all of you. We actually have a short agenda this evening, but for elected officials, brevity is next to godliness, I think the saying goes. So we appreciate you all being concise. We have a couple permits and licenses applications to review, and I think, Rachel, are you going to do those?
Yeah, thank you. So we had two applications. We did not have quorum, so they are recommendations from our committee. The first is from, sorry.
This is 1114 8th
Thank
Avenue.
you. That's what I was trying to get to. 1114 8th Avenue, which is going to be doing business as Pasta Louise. They are already doing business a few blocks away, and they are expanding to a second location into this space, which was most recently the Johnny Mac's location. And this is for a full liquor license. And so they, we really had no issues with this application at all. It was very straightforward. She's already in business, and we didn't have any members from the community who came to either way. And so we had the 4 of us that were present unanimously recommended the application. But we do need a motion.
Thanks, Rachel. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to accept the committee's report.
Thanks,
I have
Jerry.
a question.
Hildegard, go ahead.
So,
Wait, you need
sorry.
a second first. I'll second
Do
it.
we,
No, but this is not this, like, can we ask my question before we like? call
No,
the
you
question?
need, for the motion to be on the floor, you need a second, and then you can ask your question.
Hildegard, if it pertains to the motion itself, we do need a second first. If it's,
I'm curious about the business.
then we should wait for the second, then we can discuss that. So Daniel, are you seconding?
Yes.
Thank you. Hildegard, go ahead.
So there was another business there, like not so long ago. Is this part of that original business, or is it
No.
a new business?
This is a new business. They have nothing to do with the prior business.
Wow.
So it's replacing Johnny Max?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep.
Whew,
The legendary Johnny Max.
I
Yeah.
know, it's harsh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Any other questions regarding the motion? Any other discussion? Okay. I'm going to assume that there is support for this. So if you are opposed to the motion, please use the raise hand function. Hildegard, I'm assuming your hand is up from your question and not as opposition. I see no opposed. Does anybody abstain from this vote? Seeing no abstentions, the motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Rachel. And the next item?
Yes. The second is 242 Fifth Avenue, doing business as Simply Greek. This was an application in change of status from a beer, wine, and cider license to a full liquor license because they want to be more competitive in the neighborhood. So they want to have the option to serve cocktails, but they're not planning to change anything else about their business. They're not installing a bar. They're not putting bar seats. They just want the option to serve more types of drinks. So we didn't see any problems with this application as well. They've had no issues currently with what they do serve, and the recommendation was also unanimous for this application.
Bob, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I know it's not up yet for discussion, but can you just identify what streets it's between so we know?
Oh.
It looks like it's between Second and Third
Okay.
on the
that's good.
west side of Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So would someone like to make a motion in support of this recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks,
I'll
Glenn. Is
I'll
there a
second
second?
it.
I'll second it.
Bob, second. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Just a
I
nod.
will-
Eric, just one quick question. They're serving food at this establishment?
Oh, yeah, Greek food. Yes.
Okay,
It's
I assume so, but I
Lots.
just wanted
Lots
to
and
make
lots.
sure.
Yeah,
Primarily
big
a
menu.
restaurant.
Big menu.
Thank you.
All right, so same as last time. So if anyone is opposed to the motion, please use the raise hand function. I see no hands up. Any abstentions? No abstentions. So again, this, like the first one, this motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Rachel, and
Thank
permits and
you.
licenses for this. That actually concludes our committee reports, but I see we've been joined by Councilmember Lander, also Controller-elect Lander, and I will turn the floor over to you momentarily. But before I do that, I just want to thank you for your nearly 12 years of service as the council member representing the 39th district. I think it's safe to say that no one in the city council has worked harder than you have over that time and have represented a district with such distinction. We've been incredibly fortunate to have you as our council member, covering a large chunk of Community Board 6. And we, as New Yorkers, will be fortunate to have you as the controller for the next 4 years at least. But Brad, I just want to say it's been my honor to have you represent me in the city council and to be able to work closely with you on a number of things over the years, and continued good luck in elective office. And thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much, Eric. Yes, with this being the last Community Board 6 meeting during my council tenure, I definitely wanted to make it to come say mostly just thank you. I have really working with CB6, and I went back and looked. I think I joined in 2007 as a board member and served on the board from 2007 through the end of 2009 after the election. And I was just thinking back, I think at that time, I think it was Richard Bashner was chair then, and that Danny Coomer became chair a few years later.
Yeah, but we started at the same meeting in 2000.
Yeah, so that's right. It was we were CB6 members together,
right.
Incoming members, and obviously to you and to Richard and to Pauline, and I think Jerry was chair for some of that time. We've had obviously just great district managing. Mike, thank you very much for your work. And it's been a long time. We've gone through a lot of things. I was looking back. We worked together when I was on the board on a responsible contractor policy, trying to make sure that contractors in the neighborhood do right by the community. I know that it continues to be a good, hard, important, challenging issue, well over a decade later. Probably the Prospect Park West bike path was the sometimes still in some quarters called the Eric McClure Prospect Park West bike path, was the most contentious issue with like thousands of people weighing in. But there've been so much good work, and I just really appreciate that people come month in, month out, looking at everything from each individual liquor license and every single landmarks and land use application, large and small. And obviously it's always a challenge to get lots and lots of people in the community engaged on all of these issues, and yet they really matter enormously in the life of the community. So I have really appreciated that. I spoke last month about how proud I was of our partnership and our work together on Gowanus across a lot of years. That also was a dialogue that we were underway with way back at the beginning, and tried hard to say, what we need to do is that the community board, as a representative of and in partnership with the community, sets the values and the goals for how we think about what we want in the future of our neighborhood. And that's a really different model than just a developer brings a project or City Hall has some goals, but it takes really committed hard work, a desire to reach out and be inclusive across all the communities. And I just really appreciate all the work that people have put in. I think there's a lot of reasons to be anxious about the rickety nature of our democracy these days. But when you get a chance to really participate in engaged local democracy, when people do the hard work, stay in touch with their neighbors, aren't getting paid anything to do it, but believe both in making the neighborhood stronger and in working on the bigger goals of inequality and inclusion and the climate crisis and aging infrastructure, like taking the long-term view, thinking hard about what our shared values are while also fighting for the neighborhood. Pretty special. So thank you, Community Board 6. It has been a treasure. I'm not going far, and I'll come as controller to some CB6 meetings, and I look really forward to working with people on getting our nonprofits paid on time, on investing in our infrastructure for resiliency, on improving the functioning of our city agencies, and getting our city more ready than we are for the climate crisis as we come out of this pandemic. But I just want to say a big thank you and what an honor it has been to serve together with all of you. Oh, and also Nicole, thank you. Nicole reminds me I did have one job that now I almost forgot, which is we are launching the 11th cycle of participatory budgeting, which has also been a great partnership. I will say in other places, community boards said, look, we do our annual district needs statement. We don't need some new process. This board said, we're going to keep doing our annual district needs statement. We've got a function and a responsibility in the budget, but this is a great way to involve people. So we're launching the 11th cycle. This year, it's a partnership with the New York City Civic Engagement Commission, and they are hosting the website for this. I think 10 or 11 districts are participating, and Nicole is going to drop into the chat the link so that people can give your ideas, upvote ideas. I'm so thrilled, and I guess this is just where I'll leave it. Our next council member Hanif, is going to take this district and the 39th district office and the partnership with the community board to new heights. And I'm excited to what she does, building on the work we've all done together, including a whole new set of people. She's so good at energizing and involving young people. And she's obviously been our leader on participatory budgeting for quite some time. So she's gonna really build on it and make sure it takes off. So Nicole has put the link in the chat. Hope people will be involved there. And thank you, really. Oh, and I see that Joanne might be here as well. I do want to say that the partnership with the elected officials in this neighborhood with the board is something pretty special. There are a lot of other neighborhoods where, fiefdoms or political issues often kind of get in the way of serving the community. But with Joanne, with Bobby, with our state senators, with our Nydia and our Congress members, with Steve Levin, with Carlos Menchaca, I've really felt lucky to partner with all of them along with you. So let me stop there. I'm sorry that we don't get to do this in person, but we will again before too long. And I'll come to the next either holiday party or to make sure that I can say a big thank you in person.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for your service. And we won't expect you to be here every month as controller, but we do hope you will drop in a couple times a year to update us on the city's finances.
I look forward to it.
I don't think we have any other representatives of elected officials. We were fortunate to have all of you electeds in person this evening. So I'm going to invite Richard Day from the Department of Sanitation to say a few words about some initiatives that are going on with DSNY. And if you are attending the meeting as a member of the public, we do have a public comment session following Richard. Just raise your hand if you have an announcement or anything you'd like to share with the board. Richard?
Great, thanks, Eric. Yep, just here to make a really quick announcement about our special fall leaf collection. It's an opportunity for all of you to compost your fall leaves, even if you don't have curbside composting currently. So we ask that residents collect their leaves in paper, lawn, and leaf bags or unlined rigid containers and set them out on your curb after 4 p.m. on Saturday, December 18th, and then we'll collect them and turn them into compost. It's really simple, really straightforward. We've been doing this for a while now. But it's a great way to divert those leaves and do something useful with them. We don't accept any material from professional landscapers. They should dispose of it themselves. So just put your leaves out in those paper, lawn, and leaf bags or those unlined rigid containers. We do have events coming up where you can get free paper, lawn, and leaf bags if you don't have any right now. Those are on our website. I'll leave some information in the chat. If you could all check that out, I would appreciate it. And that's it from me. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of the meeting.
Thanks, Richard. Greer, welcome.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Greer Mayhew. I'm from State Senator Brian Kavanaugh's office. We only have one update this evening. The senator will be hosting a virtual town hall on Monday, December 13th at 7 p.m. This event, it will be like a wonderful chance for constituents in Carroll Gardens, Cobble Hill, Vinegar Hill, Brooklyn Heights, Columbia Waterfront, Fulton Ferry, and Dumbo. I have to say all of our great neighborhoods' names to discuss a variety of issues that affect them. If you are interested in joining, we ask that people RSVP before the event. I will add the flyer to the chat, and on the flyer is a registration form where you can include, we'll submit some questions that that you would like answered during the event. And that is really it. And I hope everyone has a great holiday and a great rest of their evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Greer. Jerry, I see you have your hand up.
Actually, yes, I had a question for Richard, or more of a comment. Richard, I don't know if you're still there, but please, oh, you are. Okay, good. With the holiday season coming up, please make sure to let the board office know when you're going to be doing the Christmas tree pickups so they can be recycled instead of just thrown into the back of a garbage truck and cleaned up. And this way they can go back to the environment in the parks. And I think that would be a benefit to our community. We have a lot of gardens and a lot of backyard gardens. So make sure that the board gets notified when you're going to have the Christmas tree recycling pickups, please.
Yep, will do. Those dates should be coming out pretty shortly.
Thank you.
Glenn?
Thank you. Richard, I have a question regarding the compost pickup. I believe CB6 is going first, and the compost pickup started back in October. I've not yet had a pickup on my block. Is there something I can do about that? We've signed up online.
Yeah, sure. So I'll leave my contact information in the chat. Please message me if you've signed up and you've gotten notice that you'll be receiving service. That's a huge issue, and we want you to actually get the collection that you signed up for. So I'll figure out what's going on there. But otherwise, you can call 311 to report a missed collection, and someone from our team will end up looking into that for you. But I'll leave my information for you in the chat. I'll message you.
Great, thanks.
Bob?
Yeah, another question for Richard. Does it matter with the leaves, whether you put it out with your compost or on the leaf collection day? Is there an advantage, one or the other?
Not necessarily. No, if you do have curbside composting and they get collected alongside your regular compost, that's great. But this special leaf collection date is for everyone in a wide variety of community boards in Brooklyn, whether or not they do or don't have curbside composting service at this time. So it's a way for them to actually compost those leaves. So if you have regular curbside collection, that's great. You can set them out then. If not, or if you want to set them out on that Saturday, please feel free to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Paul?
Yes, thank you, Eric. Richard, we're having some enforcement issues with ticketing vehicles on alternate side days, especially RVs and campers. I've been beating this drum for a while, and we keep getting pushed back with agencies to Department of Sanitation enforcing the alternate side rules, having them ticketed. I know that there is an issue with their legality on parking on streets. They're fine doing it as long as they move. But many of these RVs in our community and our neighboring communities are not moving, and they're not getting ticketed by sanitation. I'm hoping you could follow up and get me some answers on that, please. Thank you.
Sure, I'll post my information in the chat. Unfortunately, that's not something that I'm familiar with. I just work on the curbside program, but I'll try and make sure that gets to the appropriate person.
Thanks, Richard. All right, I don't see any more hands up. I don't see anyone for public session. So I think that this will bring us to the conclusion of our meeting. I want to thank everybody for participating this evening. See you in 2022. Hopefully we will be talking about the pandemic in the past tense at some meeting in the next calendar year. Fingers crossed, but until then, please mask up, get your booster shot.
Eric, one second. I want to say thank you to Evan for helping host the Zoom. And for Ty and Liza for picking up the slack when I had COVID. So thank you. In that sense, it feels good to know that things kept moving along just fine. So
yeah, I have to say it's a challenge to chair a meeting on Zoom and not having to deal with the moving parts of promoting people to panelists and things like that. It takes a lot of the stress away. So thank you, Ty and Mike and Liza and Evan for all your work behind the scenes. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year. And we'll see you again in 2022. If I could get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, and
Seconded.
part of it's attached to Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And I'd like to thank my fellow board members for an interesting year.
Merry Christmas, you guys. Happy holidays, everybody.
Same to you, Joanne. Jerry, thank you. Take
Good
care,
night,
everybody.
Get better, everybody. Get better, Mike.
Happy holidays.